So, what does that mean for you? Well, that means that you need to get an ExDescendancy chart. There are two versions, one for male and one for female, because you get your X from different people. This is a female because she gets her DNA from this side, her father and her mother. Okay? And in your handout, I've given you a link for these charts, and also some charts that are Excel-based, and some that are Word-based, and some that are text-based. So you have many different options. But if you fill that out, then you look at chromosome 23, you can quickly determine whether or not that match is a possible match along that line. And there's the male one. Questions about X? X is kind of fun because you don't have to look at 100% of your ancestors. You can narrow it down to just a few. I communicated with a woman a while back, and we connect on the X line, and we know that we connect through Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We both go back to that, and we both go back to that through that maternal line that I just showed you, but we don't know how we match, but we know we have to. So it's really kind of fun because at least the universe gets smaller and smaller. Okay, JedMatch. I could talk about JedMatch all day long. There's so many things available on JedMatch. But it is essential in analyzing your segment matches and your triangulated segments. And it generates one-to-many matches of autosomal DNA and XDNA. If you open up that box, you can choose autosomal or X. And it now accepts raw data downloads from Family Tree DNA, 23andMe, Ancestry, WeGene, and MyHeritage DNA. If you look at all those added up, there are about 7 million testers. So it's a really big universe that's out there. Ancestry has over 5 million now. They just give us a chromosome browser. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about matches. This is an autosomal matrix. It is under the selection called multi-kit analysis. And what I did was I took people that I knew that I matched. There I am at the top. There's Teresa, and there's Tom and Charlie, and here's a man by the name of Dewey Hood. And Dewey's tree is on, I think it's on JedMatch. It might be on through 23andMe, I can't remember, but he is a descendant of Thomas Jr. So he should match me, right? He should match me. And you can see that Teresa and I are a really strong match. Here I am. Here's her match to me. So she's a strong match to me. And here's Tom. You can see Tom and I have 85.3, which is within the third cousin range. And here's Charlie, 67.1, and I have 57.1 with Dewey. Now, Teresa obviously matches me, she matches Tom, and she matches Charlie. So if you look at just those people, Teresa, me, Tom, and Charlie are a triangulated group, and we share a common ancestor because we all match interrelatedly. Make sense?
How do you know they're a triangulated group?
Because I match all of them. Leave Dewey out because he doesn't match these folks, okay? Just look at this section right here. So I match Teresa, Tom, and Charlie. Teresa matches me, Tom, and Charlie. Tom matches me, Teresa, and Charlie. And Charlie matches me, Teresa, and Tom. So because the four of us all match each other, we are a triangulated group. Now here's Dewey. Dewey matches just me and just Charlie. So we are a triangulated group, and we share a common ancestor. Now, the one thing about this to kind of keep in mind is we have a maternal line that we match on. So this match could be through that maternal line and not a Gann line. I don't know. I haven't identified the exact segments yet. But Dewey, I know, is through Thomas Jr. and John Jack. This proves that John Jack and Thomas Jr. are related. So it's nice to do segment matching, and I'm going to show you an example of segment matching, but the real meat is to get down to the triangulated level if you're looking at cousin matches, multiple cousin matches. Segment matches versus triangulation. I have a match on 23andMe between Teresa on chromosome 13, and it's 174 million. You know, the numbers, if you look at those start and stop numbers, they're really huge, so I've put them, I've put them down where they're easier to understand. We match from 174 to 199, and my cousin Lucky Hunt matches me on chromosome 3, matches me 188 to 199. So you can see that those segments overlap. They overlap from 188 to 199. Those segments overlap. Each of those individuals match me. But when you look at the autosomal matrix, Lucky and Teresa don't match. They match me, but they don't match one another. So that is not a triangulated group. Lucky comes from my daddy's side. And I have that documented in paper plus DNA since about 1992. So do you see how that's different from the slide before, where all those individuals matched together, and this one, there's no interrelatedness? So every tool that we need to analyze our DNA always kind of goes back to triangulation, because we're looking for a common ancestor that we share. Okay, I'm going to move on to ethnicity. I always have kind of issues with ethnicity. Of all the things that we do as genealogists, ethnicity estimates are the most unreliable scientifically. There have been a lot of strides made in the last couple years on ethnicity, but most genetic genealogists kind of go, you know. The accuracy of those estimates really are based on different reference populations that they match your DNA to, and the regional categories that the testing company uses. I looked at some work that Ancestry did, and their reference population for the British Isles was made up of 195 people. Somehow or another that doesn't seem statistically valid to me. And my college professor cousin back there shaking her head, it's just not. There's just not, it's not big enough. So that's why you see those differences. If you look at Family Tree or you look at JedMatch, you see those differences in the percentages. It's because they're using different reference populations that you're matching to, and because they do different regional categories. Ancestry divides theirs up into 26 regions across the world, 23, 31, Family Tree, 24 regions, and MyHeritage, 42 regions. So see, there's a really big difference. And for example, the northern part of Ireland could be considered Ireland, or it could be considered England, or Scotland, depending on how that company decides to define that particular region. Now, the most interesting thing that's come along recently is living DNA. They have 80 regions. Living DNA is based in the UK. They do offer testing in the United States. They give you Y DNA results, mitochondrial DNA results, and then this sort of ethnicity, that thing that they're working on. They are in the process of doing autosomal testing, and they hope to have that up by the end of the year. If you decide to do testing with living DNA, it's pricey. It's about $159, which, you know, compared to $79 on sale at Ancestry. So that could be, you know, an issue for you. But they divide the UK up into 24 different regions, not just one big British Isles. Yeah, Jennifer?
Doesn't the JedMatch calculators do the same?
Not at that level. Let me show you the levels.
What's the question?
Does JedMatch do the same thing?
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so under living DNA, they do, Cornwall, Devon, Ireland, Lincolnshire, North Wales and Wales, South Wales, someplace down here, South Wales and the border, Orkney, a couple different Scotlands. They do Southeast England. Where else could we be?
East Anglia.
East Anglia, okay? So there are numerous regions that the Ganns could originate from based on their regional breakouts. And they use a project that was done by Brian Sykes. If you've kind of been doing genealogy for a while, or genetic genealogy, Brian Sykes was the one that developed the 7 haplogroups, mitochondrial haplogroups, and he did the 7 Daughters of Eve and several other books on human population. And so that project called The History of the British Isles, and there's also one called The Peoples of Ireland. That's what they're using as a reference base to hone in on where your family's from. Ross?
Yeah, well, how do they get their learning?
I'm not a geneticist, so I don't really know, but I know that the reference population that they're using is in the millions. So I have a lot more faith in this. They also do it by years. They give it to you like at 1700, 1750, 1800, so you can see where your population moved. Now, I talked to the board about this yesterday, and the board has agreed to pursue something with living DNA. We're not real sure where we're going to go to with the project, but we do have some funding available to do these tests.
Did you test with them yourself?
I have not. The $159 scared me, and the fact that I'm not a male. The fact that I'm not a male is a little bit concerning to me, and the fact that I know that my maternal haplogroup is Lapland. If I had an English haplogroup, I'd be more interested, I think, in doing it. But I know that my maternal line goes back to the Baltics. So I may do this. It's only, I've only known, let me just tell you, there's a guy, his name's Blaine Bettinger, and he's a really well-known geneticist. I don't know where Tim is, but I know Tim follows him, and I follow him, and you follow him. And when he first heard this, he kind of went, ugh, But he is a PhD chemist, and he's really become a DNA expert. And he's looked at the science behind this, and he's really kind of passing off that this is okay. But it's been a slow process. It's really been, what, maybe 6 months since he's been kind of looking at it?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's beginning to pass the test of time, I guess.
It's 119.
It's 119 now, which is not so bad. But I may do it. Yes, Cindy?
I'm just curious for myself because, okay, I found both sides of my birth family, but nowhere is there any red hair. And I mean, plus or minus 50% Great Britain, 8% Irish according to Ancestry and stuff. But that would kind of narrow it down.
It would narrow it down. I mean,
I have to wait until it's available with the Autosomal, but.
Yeah, I mean, I find this really intriguing, especially for the origins of our group. Now, I do know that they are working on Ireland, breaking Ireland out into more regions, and they're working on Germany. So this is obviously a work in process, and we as a group will be kind of moving forward on this. We're kind of at that point with our Y surname study where there's not a tremendous amount to learn. We've got 60 men, they all match. It's a pretty homogeneous group. Now we need to, go into something else.